Anybody remember? First of all, is this anybody's first call? Can you just type in a 1 in the chat if this is your first call on one of these? Mr. Robert, who else? Who else is on right now as your first call? Just type in a 1. I just want to see who our newer people are. Let's see, Robert. Doesn't look like anybody else. Well, I'll tell this. I'll tell this for you, Mr. Robert. So, the way these calls work is I generally do about 30 minutes of teaching, and so I'm going to go through something in depth of our sales process. So, if you want to go back and watch the last couple of recordings, 5-6 weeks ago, we started at the connection phase, went down to the situation, problem, impact, future state, kind of all the things regarding the sales process. And then after that, you guys are going to have the chance to ask any questions regarding your business. So if it's marketing, if it's sales, if it's dispo, you guys can ask whatever questions that you want. Or if you're getting stuck with a specific seller, you'll be able to ask those as well. So we're going to jump right into it. Last week, what we covered is we covered uncovering obstacles, right? So if you guys remember, that starts with, do you see how we would be able to help you here? Right after the needs, anchor, consequence, right? From there, we go into time frame. We go into the stress test. We go into the influencers and the condition, right? So we all got that. If you did not watch last week's training, highly recommend that you get caught up on that, because this is how you prevent all of the objections. It's also how you tee up the offer, right? So today we're going to be talking about how to actually present the offer, what that needs to look like, and what you need to have before. So real quick, I want you guys to type in a 1 in the chat if you are giving offers and then the sellers are shopping you, like they're ghosting you right now, like they're shopping you, they're ghosting you, they're telling you need to think about it, something like that. So thank you for that, Josh. So Mo says yes. Just Mo. Everybody else, you guys close 100% of your offers, or we just got a shy group today? So can anybody tell me in the chat, why is that happening? Why are you getting ghosted? And why are you getting the think about it objection? Why are you getting objections like that? Who can tell me in the chat why that's happening? I'm going to ask you guys first before I give you the answer. I'll give it a couple seconds for you guys to type up. Why would a seller, especially if you can help them, like you can actually solve their problem? So there we go. Jared got it. Lack of commitment, right? And that's all it really comes down to, is a lack of commitment, right? So I want you guys to all write the word down, commitment. Commitment is the word you're going to be writing down. And so our entire closing process, after we've gotten problem impact, after we've gotten future state, after we've gotten needs, after we've covered the obstacles, now we've really solved all of the problems. The only thing that's going to stop them from working with us is a lack of commitment that they would move forward if we can solve their problems. And so this is the thing you have to get really, really good at if you want to close at a high rate. Okay, so I'm going to walk through the first step. So we got our condition. We went through everything. And the first step is this stress test and commitment. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, so I'm going to go back to my team here and see what we can do. Now, I'm not saying we can help you yet, but let's say I can get you, and then we're going to repeat back the needs. So hopefully you guys were around when you saw the needs, right? So let's say I can get you the $35,000 that you needed to pay off your credit card and pay off your car. And let's say that we can do that in the next 90 days, like you said that you needed, and also help you with, now this part right here, any additional clauses, this is going to come out in the obstacles. So I want you guys to understand this. So if you missed last week, this might be a little bit confusing, but don't worry, we'll still kind of breeze over it. So inside of the obstacles, this is where a lot of times you're going to get some other stuff, right? So like, for example, when I asked them about their time frame, how soon would you like to be in the living room of your next house? And then we say, are you sure you're going to be able to get all your stuff out? Are you sure you're going to be able to find another place? Are you sure you're going to be able to XYZ, right? We need to stress test them. So a lot of times what it sounds like when we go into this part and we say, also, let's say I can help you with moving all of your stuff, because I know you said that that was going to be difficult. Or, oh, let's say that we can help you with finding your next place, because I know you said that that was going to be difficult, right? So we want to solve their concerns here. So that's the way that you go forward with your stress test and commitment. is you're taking all the information that you gathered inside of the sales process, the money that they need, the time frame that they want it done, and anything else that they're looking for from you guys, right? That could be they want to see reviews. That could mean they need help with their stuff. That could mean we've had all kinds of stuff that we've helped sellers with, right? So this is where we bring those things up. And so I'll give you guys another example. So, hey, I'm going to go back to my team and see what we can do here. Now, I'm not saying we can, but let's say I can get you the $40,000 that you needed to be able to go rent your next property. And let's say we can do it in the next 3 weeks, so you don't have to worry about making your next payment. And also, I know you said you also needed help with your stuff. So let's say we actually send somebody out to help with all of your stuff. If I can do all of that for you, what would be your biggest concern? All right. So if I could do all of that for you, what would be your biggest concern? Now, who can tell me, why do I ask that question? Why am I asking the question, what would be your biggest concern? I want to see your guys' opinions. I want to see why you guys believe that first, and then I'll kind of talk about it a little bit. Why would I be asking that? What would be your biggest concern? Josh Martinez, awesome job, man. To get to their objections, right? And so what I want you guys to understand is right now, you are dangling the carrot. All right. So you have not given them the offer yet. They are much more willing to give you information. They're willing to give you concerns because you haven't given them the carrot. The second you give them the carrot, they go, okay, I got the carrot. I'm going to go off. I'm going to go see what other offers I have. So you have the point of leverage at this point in the sales process. Before you actually give the offer, this is where you have the most leverage because they felt their pain points. They've gotten their future state. You've built a bunch of gap. They really want to do this. You figured out how much do they need. You've overcome all of their obstacles, and you're basically telling them like, hey, I'm going to try to help you right here. I'm not sure if I can, but I'm going to do my best. This is where they want it the most. This is where they want the offer the most. This is where they're the most willing to commit to you. I just want to make sure you guys get that concept. Type in a 1 if you get it. Type in a 2 if you're confused. If you don't understand this concept, your closing process is going to be, you're going to struggle with it. No 2s. I don't see any 2s yet. By the way, guys, don't be shy. Like if you have a question, that's what this is for. You can definitely come off mute and ask a question if you have one. Or like maybe there's an objection that you get. All right, cool. We're going to rock with it. So can you guys let me know in the chat if you guys are using this process right now? When you say what would be your biggest concern at that point, what are some of the common concerns that you guys get? So let's say I can help you with the money. So we get the money tied down. Let's say I can do it in the next 3 weeks. We get the time frame tied down and we help you with X, Y, and Z. What would be your biggest concern? What are some of the things that you guys have heard on your sales calls that you might struggle with? Because this is where we go into a little bit of objection prevention. I'll give you guys a second to type that out. Spouse. All right. Need to talk to my wife. Okay. Let's cover a couple of those. So the first thing is the spouse, right? Like some sort of partner objection. So if there's a partner objection at this point in your sales call, what would be your biggest concern? It's like, okay, just getting my wife involved. Then I'm just going to go into my standard partner objection prevention. Yeah, and that's not a problem. I certainly understand you need to get your wife involved. For you personally, do you feel like this covers everything you're looking for to be able to do X, Y, and Z? Yeah, I do. Why do you feel like it would? Well, because you can do this, you can do that, I can do this. Okay, well, let's say that you go to your wife and she says no. Would you just keep the property, never sell it, or what would you do at that point? They're going to say, oh, no, it's my decision. I'm going to sell it. Or they're going to say, no, if I went to her and she said no, she has to sign, so I'm not going to do it. Right now we break off into that Miro board where we go, they're either going to do it anyway or they're not going to do it. And so typically if it's like a wife, somebody else that's on title, we're going to have to book another call. So the way that we would do that is we'd say, okay, well, look, worst case scenario, like I don't want for you to have to go to them. They're probably going to have questions, right? They're like, yeah, they're probably going to have questions. Would it help if we set up a call? That way I'm there to answer their questions when they have them. Would that help? They say yes. All right, perfect. Let's set up that next call. And that's where you had set up another call if it's a partner objection. So JT said, is this the best price I can get, or could I get more with someone else? So this is where you start going into a multiple quotes objection. And so if I have a multiple quotes objection, I might say something along the lines of, hey, look, and I'm going to be honest, if you call enough people, somebody else will put a higher number on a piece of paper. Now, let me ask you this. Knowing that we're not always the highest number on a piece of paper, a lot of people decide to work with us anyway. Why do you feel like that is? They're like, oh, well, because you guys can actually close. And do you trust us that we're going to be able to close this for you? Well, yeah, I do. And so at this point, what feels riskier to you? Is it taking a gamble with somebody that's going to put a really high number on a piece of paper, or is it working with somebody that you trust is actually going to get you the money you need to do X, Y, and Z? That's how I'd handle like a multiple quotes. Now, I will say a pretty common one right here is some sort of like a trust objection. So they might say, well, I just want to know that you're actually going to be able to do it. And this is one of the most common ones that you'll get once you get really good at the objection prevention, because for you guys that said partner objections, that would have actually come up in influencers, right? And so let's say it's a trust objection. They say something like, well, I just want to know that you're going to be able to close. I would say, hey, look, I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because there are a lot of knuckleheads out there that are going to give you an offer and they have no intention on closing on it. So I'm glad that you did that. Help me understand, what would you be looking for from us to know that we are going to be able to close this? They're going to say, I want reviews, I want testimonials, I want X, Y, Z. We're going to get all of that information. Then we're going to say, okay, we're going to go through it again. So let's say I can show you all of that. Let's say I show you the reviews. Let's say I show you the testimonials. Let's say I show you our closing statements. If I can do that and I can get you the money in the time frame that you said, what would be your biggest concern then? And I want to keep going through that until I don't have any other concerns. This is the point where we need to get that commitment. All right. So we need to keep going through it until they say, I don't have any concerns. Type in a 1 in the chat if you guys get that. Type in a 2 if you're getting stuck on this right now. All right, cool. I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Awesome. So now let's talk about setting the stage before you give the offer. All right. So couple of things. If you guys ever had, type in a 1 if this has ever happened to you, where you went to go send the agreement and the seller's like, oh, just send it to me and I'm going to read it by myself. Oh, just send it over. I'll read it by myself. And you're annoyed with that. You want to stop that from happening, right? So the way that we get around that is we tell them that there's a reason why we need to keep them on the phone, right? So I'll go through how to set up the offer, and then I'll go through how to keep them on the phone. So when I get I wouldn't have any concerns, we say, okay, what would you want the next steps to be? They're like, well, I'd want to review the agreement. I want to move forward. All right, so here's what I can do. I'm going to send this to my team. Now hang on the phone, because they are going to have some questions for you as we're looking at this. That's the part that keeps them on the phone. I'm going to go to my team. Now hang on the phone, because they are going to have some questions for you as we're looking at this. I'm going to tell them about everything we just discussed. And if it does look like we're able to do that, I'm going to type it all out on an agreement. I'm going to go over it with you line by line, so that way you can see everything. And then I could walk you through the next steps. Would that help? Okay. So do you guys see how I'm teeing it up to get them on the phone while I'm reading through the agreement? Hey, hang on the phone, because they're going to have some questions for you. I'm going to tell them about everything we just discussed. And if it looks like we're able to do that, I'm going to type it all out on an agreement. I'm going to read it with you line by line. That way you can see everything. Then I can walk you through the next steps, right? So if they say, oh, well, just send me the agreement, I could be like, well, I do want to make sure that you see the part about us actually being able to cover your closing costs, or I want to make sure that I can show you the part about X, Y, Z. You mentioned that you need help with your moving. I'm going to show you where that is in the agreement. I'm going to make sure that you don't have any questions. If you still need to review it by yourself at the end, that's completely fine, but most people don't after we review it with them. Would that help better if we did that? Or if they're really squirmy, you can say, well, I do need you on the phone because I have some questions on the purchase agreement that I need to ask you before I even type everything up. So let's go through it really quick. I'm going to ask you the questions and I can start going through the agreement with you. All right. Type in a 1 if you guys get that. I want to make sure everybody understands this part of the process. I literally just drill this with my team over and over and over. We drill this part. This is where a lot of you guys lose easy deals. That's the worst thing. Losing hard deals, it's like that's a pill that might be easy to swallow. Losing easy deals, that's a tough pill to swallow, right? All right. So now we have the offer, right? Now at this point, we go two directions. I'm going to walk you guys through kind of two different options. So the first option, this happens most of the time. If you really get good at problem impact, future state, and needs, you're going to give the offer that's in line with what they actually said that they needed, right? That's most of the time. If you're way off, I'm going to show you guys how to go through that as well. All right. So I'll go through like, okay, we're really close on price, or we are actually able to help them. Most of the time it's going to happen. Every once in a while, you're going to get these people that are like way, way off on price. And I'll show you how to go through those too. So let's say first that we got their needs, we got everything, and we are able to help them. So I'm going to say, okay, so it looks like we are able to help you with this. After reviewing this with your team, the best offer came back at $600,000. What put $400,000 in your pocket so that way you can move to the next property. Okay, that's how you present your offer. You don't want to just go and say, "Oh, it's going to be $600,000," and just stay quiet. That's an old technique. It does not work anymore. The whole like sit there and be quiet doesn't actually do anything, right? And so once I have this, let me see if I can. There we go. So once I have this, this is how I'm going to present it. Hey, the offer came back after reviewing this with my team. The best offer came back at $150,000, which we'll put, and then we're going to put the amount in their pocket that they're going to walk away with, which will put $50,000 in your pocket, so that way you can buy the next house. And then you go into the offer. So here's what I can do. I'm going to type this up on an agreement, just like I said. I'm going to send it over to you. Now hang on the line because there are some more questions I need. I'm going to go over it with you line by line, and then I'll start walking you through the next steps. All right. That is the ideal closing process. Now type in a 1 in the chat. If you guys get it, type in a 2 if you have questions before we go into you're really, really far apart on offers. All right. Now let's talk about being super far apart on offers, right? So like you got their needs. Their needs are 500,000. You can put 300,000 in their pocket. Super far apart. Now what I'm going to do there is I'm going to soften it up a little bit. I'm going to say, hey, look, the offers came back kind of where I was expecting, because I would have already planted that seed in the needs, right? I would have already tried to anchor at the 300,000. So let's say, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up. The offers came back kind of where I was expecting. Now I'm going to give you the offer because you asked for one, even though I know that it's not what you were wanting. All right. So I set that up so I don't get like hung up on, hey, I'm going to give you the offer just because you asked for one, even though I know it's not what you were wanting. That being said, the offers came back at 600,000, which would put 300K in your pocket. So that way you could go buy the next house. Now, this is the important next question. Now, I know it's not what you were wanting. However, would the 300,000 help you do X, Y, and Z? Would the 300,000 help you do X, Y, and Z? And so this is how you have to basically go into a price objection, right? And so I don't want to just go and say, okay, this is the offer and then pause. I want to start framing them back to the result. So let's say the seller, they just think their house is worth $600,000 and they need to go buy another house in Texas and they want to buy it cash and they're trying to buy a $600,000 house, right? I might say, hey, I know it's not what you were wanting, but with that $300,000, could you at least buy something in Texas? Could you at least do X, Y, and Z? Or let's say, I'll give you guys another example. Seller has $100,000 in credit card debt, and we can put $30,000 in their pocket. Hey, I know it wouldn't pay off all of your debt, but would the $30,000 help you at least pay off a big chunk? And what we're looking for is yeah, it might, or it would, but I would never take that. Like, so they're usually going to say something like that. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess, but I would never take that. And then the next logical answer is, well, why do you feel like it would? And they'd be like, well, it would help me because of X, Y, and Z. That's where we're going into our objection handlers, which we'll talk a little bit more about next week. I'm assuming we'll go through like a simple objection handling framework. Type in a 1 if you guys understand how to present offers better now. Like I get it for the cash for the really low offer. I get it for the offer where we hit their needs. Type in a 2 if you guys have questions on that. I'll just let you guys come off mute. I want to make sure everybody gets that. All right, so let me do a little bit. Okay, Christopher Millis, what's up, man?
Yeah, so if they're asking for the 600 and let's say we can only do the 300 and you say that, right? I know that's not what you're looking for, but would that at least help you do XYZ? And they say, yeah, that'll help me do XYZ, but they do hit you with that. But I would never take that. So then you still hit them with, well, why would that help you do XYZ?
Yeah, I'll frame it a little bit. So role play with me for a second. Yeah, so the best offer came back at 600,000. Now that would put $300,000 in your pocket. I know it's not what you were wanting, but would it at least help you get to Texas so you could be closer to your family?
I mean, it would a little bit, right? But I would never take that.
And honestly, like you could be better off hanging on to the property for another couple of years. Help me understand. You say it would a little bit. Why do you feel like it would help you though?
I mean, I could at least put a down payment on something and, kind of go ahead and get out of the situation I'm in now.
And it sounds like at the end of the day, that was the most important thing, right? Was being able to get closer to your family down in Texas.
Yeah, it was. However, I did see my neighbor house across the street sell for, what I was looking to get. So I was thinking about, testing the market on that and seeing if I could get higher.
And here's the thing, like you could be better off doing that. I guess let's say that all the offers did come back and for whatever reason, maybe because the market's slowing down going into the winter. I know this property did need a good bit of repairs. I mean, after the closing costs and commissions, everything comes back at 300,000. Do you see how this would actually still help you get down to Texas?
Yeah, it would.
So at this point, I mean, what feels riskier? Is it continuing to push it off, knowing that you might get the same price, or is it working with somebody that you actually know is going to get this closed for you and taking what you need to get closer to your family?
Okay, I got you. Then you went on the risk. What's
yeah,
risk?
It was a simple price objection at the end of it, right? It's just a price objection. So I'm just teeing it up for a price objection. Like I'm expecting one. If I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to come in $300,000 under what they think the house is worth, I'm gonna. Would I be stupid not to expect the price objection?
The price objection, ready.
I mean? Yeah, I tee them up into it. I'm like, hey, I'm about to get a price objection. Let me just start with the first question on a price objection, which is, do you see how this would help you? You know what I mean? Like, so I'll just start it right there because I'm like basically leading them into my own price objection. So I know I'm going to get one. You know what I mean? The best case scenario, they just say, yeah, I see how it would help me. And you just go in for the close. But most of the time, you're going to get a price objection. So I just start teeing them up into it. You know what I mean? What other questions do you guys have? Shawnee, what's up?
Hey, John. Question going back to the objections where I guess it's a partner objection. When I deal with a lot of the probates, if they are the PR, they'll always mention other family members that they need to go back and talk to, and they hold those family members close to their heart. I've tried like scheduling an appointment, and rarely do I get that shot. So I don't know how to go around that, because once they get the numbers, of course, they're going back to the family and they're ghosting me.
Yeah, you should be focusing on that in influencers. That would be, this is not in stress testing commitment. You should be going through that in influencers and really dialing in. So are you asking the question, let's say you go to them and they say no, what would you do?
Yeah.
And then what do they say?
Well, they shouldn't say no because I'm the PR and I'm running the show. They kind of do the big pants stuff. And then when you go
Watch
through
this.
the numbers.
Role play with me for a second.
Okay.
So let's say you go to them and they say no. What would you do at that point?
I'll just move forward because I'm the only one paying the mortgage. They're not helping me at all. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, because ultimately, like, who has the burden of this whole entire thing?
It's me, man. I got to get them to sign off on it, but it's me.
Well, is it really fair to put that decision on them, knowing that you're the one that has the entire burden of this entire thing? I'm cooking you on that. You got to cook them on that. You can't just be like, Well, let's say they say no and then move on. You see how like I'm going to cook them there.
Yeah.
So that way at the end, they don't want to go talk to their family because they're like, now if their family has to sign off on it, you can still use that to be like, hey, let's say that you go to them, they say no. They're like, oh, well, they have to sign off on it. I'm like, yeah. And would you want to put yourself in a position where they don't sign off on it? No, I wouldn't. So do you feel like it would help better is if when they have questions, I'm there to actually answer them? Oh, yeah, for sure. You got to cook them on that, though. You got to like really help them feel the weight that that's a possibility because it is. And as that happens to people that are in probate is like they'll go through and they'll be like, yeah, I really want to do this. But then the family says no. So then they just stuck with the property paying a bunch of bills. And they don't want that, right?
Right.
Yeah. Is that
Gotcha.
helpful?
Yeah, it's very helpful. I gotta really hone in on that stuff.
What other questions do you guys have? Luis.
Hey, how's it going, John? A quick question. So what if you make an offer, say, all right, what if you schedule an appointment during the call? Do you make the offer before the call ends at the appointment or when the appointment is over? Like, when's the best time to give the offer?
I'm a little confused. Say it again.
So say like during the call, right? You schedule a walkthrough, to go look at the house, the condition, all the stuff, bathroom, all that XYZ.
Oh,
When
yeah,
would
you're
you-
going to give the
yeah,
offer.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but when would you give the offer? Like before you get off the call?
If
Or
I'm
like,
going in home, I'm going to give the offer in the house. I'm going to have
Right,
a
so
way
before you
higher close
leave.
rate if I give the offer in the house.
okay, so we do just like step out for like 5 minutes and then just come back in and tell them the offer?
Yeah, so we used to run it all in person. So what we used to do when we're running it in person is like, all right, we get the commitment, we go through the same commitment process. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to step out to my truck. I'm going to call the team. I'm going to send them all the photos. I'm going to tell them everything we just discussed. Now, the good part is you don't have to say hang on because they're not going to leave their house. You know what I mean? So you get to just go back in there. You get the leg up right there. They're not gonna be like, oh, I want to read this by myself. Just send it over to me. No, like you're in the living room. You get to go over it with them. So it's actually a lot easier in person. So you're gonna do the exact same thing, but I'm gonna go step out. And then typically what I do, like I have my team whenever we're running in person, they would step out, they would actually call me and they'd be like, hey, John, these are the objection handles these are the objections that I think I'm gonna get. What can I do to prepare? And so I would just talk to them. I'd be like, go in. This is how you're going to handle the partner objection. This is how you're going to handle the fear objection. Role play it a little bit. They would go back in. They would lock deals up left and right using that process. So, and then I'll do the same thing with my team right now in whisper mode. So if I see that, like a lot of times I'll see a contract go out, I'll get the notification in my inbox. And I'll just go, okay, I'm going to go get on whisper mode and listen to one of my teams, like somebody on my team try to close a deal. And if they need me, I'll just like, they'll put them on hold. I'll hop on with them, be like, yo, this is what you need to do to go back in there. And they'll practice it a few times and lock up the deal that way. So you can always use that to kind of take a little breather and go, how am I going to overcome this objection when I go back in the appointment?
Okay, sounds good. So you never call them back, you just do it on the spot.
I thought you were going in person.
Oh no, I'm saying like you call them. So you call them, right? You set an appointment for like say this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah.
And then you go see them, you do the walkthrough, everything looks good.
Oh yeah, never, ever, ever go to the house and then leave the house to give them the offer. That's that is you have the worst of both processes. So the advantage of a virtual model is that you get to make more offers. So you have a lower no-show rate on your appointments, and you're able to make more offers on people that maybe you wouldn't drive out to. So that's the advantage of a virtual model. The advantage of an in-person model is you get to read their body language. They can't leave. You know what I mean? Like your close rate's going to be higher and your contract to close is going to be higher because you saw the property. Now, if you go to the house and then you leave and you call them back, you have all of the disadvantages of a virtual model, but you also have all the disadvantages of an in-home model. So you have the worst of both worlds. So if you're ever going to go to the house, you make an offer on the spot every single time. Never call them back to give them an offer. That's one of the worst. That would be like the worst sales process you could possibly do.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, hopefully that was clear.
Yep.
I want to make sure nobody else makes that mistake. That's a dumb mistake if people do that. Jared, what's up, man? Not to call you dumb, Luis. It was a good question. I just want to make sure everybody else is not doing that. Jared, what's up, man?
Yeah, John. So I just got a question on that influencer part. So let's say they need to talk to like their wife, and their wife is also on title. So you book another call with the wife and the husband. How would you like re-engage that wife, the wife on the call?
Yeah, I would do a recap of what the husband told me and ask, is that what they feel, or are they feeling something different? So, hey, I talked to Bob. Bob said that you were moving down to Texas because the neighborhood was dangerous. That was what he said, but what's the reason that you feel like you want to move from it? Oh, because of XYZ, kind of the same reasons. I'm going to get them to go through that. Bob said he was looking forward to this. What are you looking forward to the most? I'm going to bring him through a mini sales process.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, let me go through the Q&A that was in the chat. Natalie, you sent me the doc, right? Yeah, let's see what we got here. I got law and I got some tonality, which, okay. We'll go into open Q&A in a second here. But Law asked, foreclosure lead objection. I have two similar objections related to foreclosure. My process is to keep them, book the call, and use 10 minutes to discuss how we can help them keep the house and 5 minutes to discuss about selling. I thought you were going to help me keep the house. If your line question is trying to get me to sell, I don't need your help. How would you come back from this? So what that tells me, Law, is that you went into it too early. So if your job when you're going through and you're helping them keep the house is to basically show them that those options no longer exist, right? That you're like, okay, well, what are you trying to accomplish with the bankruptcy? It's like, oh, I want to buy more time. Buy more time for what? Well, I'm hoping I can come up with the money. It's like, okay, let's say how do you plan on coming up with the money? Let's say you don't come up with the money. What happens then? Do you want to risk that if you didn't have to? No, I don't want to risk that. I need to crush all of the objections. I need to actually overcome them to the point to where I go, well, it sounds like the most important thing at the end of the day is that you don't lose all the equity. They're like, yes, that's the most important thing. And then I go, okay, well, let's say that you did have to leave the house. Would you be looking for something similar? If you do it gradually, you're not going to get that objection. It sounds like you didn't actually overcome the objection. So they still think staying there is an option, which is why they're hitting you with that objection. Cool. Tonality. What tonality should I generally use in each stage? Jared, there's not like a certain tonality that you should use in each stage. Like, there was a call review I was listening to with my team yesterday, this morning, and in the connection phase, the guy starts talking about how his wife cheated on him. And like, you go into a concerned tonality, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm in connection phase, I need to use a curious tone. So it's like, I can tell you this, when you're asking questions that are more like situational questions, you're going to be a little bit more curious until you hear a problem. When you hear a problem, that triggers you to go into a concern tone. If you have a lot of resistance, I go into a playful tone. So like, those are the times that I use the different types of tonalities, but I can't say, oh, you're always going to use a curious tone throughout the entire situation phase, because they might start talking about somebody that passed away in their family. And if I'm like, oh, really? How'd she pass away? I'm going to sound like a psychopath and they're going to hang up on me. Right. So like, if I hear a problem or something that I feel like empathetic towards, then I'm going to go into a concern tone. Cool. Let's go to the questions. Whatever questions you guys have. Shawnee, Josh, and Bennett. Shawnee, what's up?
All right. If you're going with a setter approach, but this is not an inbound lead, like how do you approach those from that perspective, I guess?
What do you mean?
If you're doing like outbound or you're texting, you finally get someone on the call, like what should they basically be trying to find out before booking the appointment? Equity is pretty much already confirmed prior to the call.
Yeah, motivation, a real reason that they're looking, like a real reason that they're looking to sell, not just I would sell if I got a super high offer. You need to verify that they're the owners. You want to get them to say that I'm going to be selling the property in the next 90 days and that they have real actionability to sell. So we call it a MOTA, equity, motivation, ownership, timeframe, actionability. Okay. That's what we go off of.
And would you use the same approach, whether it's a foreclosure, probate, whatever? Would you use like a single type of approach since they're kind of doing outreach, trying to book appointments for me?
Yeah, I mean, like foreclosures, you have to talk to them a little bit. I would use the foreclosure script, but any other lead that's not a foreclosure, I'm going to use the regular cold call script. The foreclosure script, you have to treat it differently because they don't want to sell. So you
Right.
can't call them and be like, "Hey, I'm holding a copy of your tax records, wondering if you could help me out." That doesn't work on them.
Right.
That's why we have a specific script for foreclosures. But everybody else, like, I'm not going to call a probate and be like, "Hey, I heard that somebody just passed away in your family. You want to sell the house?" Like, not going to do that. I'm going to use the same exact process as if I was just cold calling them.
But for the foreclosure one, would you just say, I understand you're going through rough times with the bank or whatever. We have a
Yes.
representative that can help talk you through your options, and that's pretty much it. Or
Yeah, go look at the foreclosure script, and I would use the introduction. I would basically just go to the point, which is like, okay, what caused you to get behind in the first place? How long has that been going on? And then once they basically they get to the point where you understand their situation and problem impact, you're going to go ahead and book that appointment.
okay.
Cool.
All right.
Josh, what's up, man?
That was good. So I had a question on how I should be training regarding like the script or objections and how to break them up during the week. I'm training right now, but I'm not quite sure if I'm doing it the right way.
We don't really have a lot of objection handling training in the school community. Where are you getting stuck?
I guess just knowing how my day should go. Like Monday, let's just work on the introduction phase or the connection phase.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look at it that way. What you want to do is you want to spend at least 30 minutes every day reviewing your calls and then figuring out where in my sales process do I need the biggest improvement? And you just work on that one thing. So like, for example, if you're getting a lot of sellers that are hitting you at the end with like, I need to think about it, or I need to go talk to somebody, I would just work that commitment phase. And I would just drill that every single day until I have that completely dialed in. If I'm getting a lot of sellers, like somebody asked me in the chat, how are you navigating the sellers that don't want to answer all your questions? They say it's irrelevant. So if I was getting something like that, like sellers are just like, I don't see why that's relevant, I would work on my framing and I would work on my tonality, right? Like, how am I framing the questions? What's my tone sound like? And so you have to just go and figure out where in your sales process do you need the most help. Once you understand in your sales process where you need the most help, that's the number one thing that I want to work on. I don't want to take like a blanket approach.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what I've been doing, and I feel kind of lost, like trying to put everything together. But what you're saying, just listen to my calls, figure out which phase, and then just kind of go from there.
Yeah, work on the number one constraint. So like in our advanced group, what we'll do is, because we have a call every single day, and I will go through and I listen to everybody's calls on Friday, and then I will go, okay, this is the number one thing you need to work on for your sales process. So I'm talking to like Luis, right? I'll be like, Luis, you just need to do this one thing. Monday we'll role play it. Tuesday we'll role play it. Wednesday we'll role play that one thing. And then I have them bring me another call where they improve that on Friday. And if they actually did and make the improvement, then I tell them, okay, now you need to go work on something else. If they didn't make the improvement, then I give them another week just working on that one thing. That's the best way to actually improve on your sales process.
Okay, cool. I appreciate it.
Yep. Bennett, what's up, man?
So I had two questions. I'm starting the cold call again. So what did the EMOTA stand for? It was equity, motivation,
Ownership, time
ownership,
frame, and actionability.
time frame, actionability. Okay, sweet. Thank you. And then other question. So what do you do with a seller that is like, you cannot get them away from like the Zillow price or like just like the higher price? Like I try to anchor and they just every single time they bring up the Zillow price anytime that I try to combat it.
I would just eventually go, and just so you know, like in today's market, nobody's going to pay that right now just because it's softening. So that being said, like if all the offers came back lower, would you just hold on to the property, or what would you do at that point? I would go into my consequence questions. Which is the truth. Nobody's going to pay Zillow price. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not any investors, at least. Like no one's going to pay it. So I just tell them like, hey, and Zillow does say that. However, I can just tell you nobody's going to pay that right now with the current market. That being said, if all the offers came back at XYZ, would you just keep it at that point, or what would you do? They're like, yeah, I'm just going to keep it. It's like, okay, you know, you're going to have to do a pretty hard price objection at the end. But you know, they're like, no, I'm going to sell it either way. It's like, okay, you got a pretty good motivated lead. And so now I'm just going to go down to the needs.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Thank you.
Cool. What other questions do we have, guys? Yelena, good to see you. How can I help?
Hi, good morning. So I'm running into objections of like, oh, I have somebody working on it. And then I try to ask, oh, okay, how are they working on it for you? How are they helping you? Or they'll say, oh, I got out of it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. How do you expect to not be in that position again? Things like that, like follow-up questions.
Yeah.
That's where they get irritated and they want to hang up.
You have to frame that. You have to frame that question. So role play with me for a second. Did you take care of that foreclosure already, or were you still looking for help with that?
Yeah, no, it's been handled.
Okay, perfect. That's what I thought. I figured this was just a mistake. Let me update my notes here so that way nobody calls you back. What did you actually end up doing to take care of that?
I ended up borrowing the money.
Oh, really? And I'll update that here, but I want to make sure it makes sense for us to completely take you off the list. Did you borrow the money like with the plan to pay it back, or what's the plan there?
Yeah, I'll pay it back over time. It was just a relative, so I have time.
So we'll pause for a second. It's how you frame that question. So you want to say, if they're like, oh, I got it taken care of, I would say, cool, let me get that updated. So that way you don't get any more calls on this. Just so I can update my notes. What did you end up doing?
Gotcha.
What did you
Okay,
end up?
that
And
makes
then you can start asking him questions. That's how you want to frame that.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions, guys? All right. We finished up a little bit early today. We will update this. We'll upload this inside the school community. We literally went through everything as far as the connection phase situation. If you guys go look at the last, I don't know, 5-6 recordings, we've gone through the entire process. What we'll likely do next week is actually we'll do novation pitches. So we'll go through novation pitches, and then we can go through like maybe some business stuff, some KPI stuff. If you guys have anything that you would like to see on these calls, just feel free to throw it in the group. Let me know, and we can cover that too. Cool.
Hey, John, real quick.
What's up?
All right, so I've totally changed my entire process from the old to the new since joining yours. Just, you know, the team is a little bit, you know, scared to be asking all the personal questions and everything like that. You know, like the person just asked, you know, what if they think you're asking too many questions? So framing is really the most important when you're trying to get off a lot of questions. You're really giving the reason why you're about to ask this next question. And
Yeah. So, for example, if I want to ask, I can frame every question that I ask. If I want to say, oh, where are you headed next? I could go, oh, cool. And we want to make sure that you're all taken care of. Where are you headed next, by the way?
Got it.
And then I can go, oh, I'm curious. Why there? Frame that question. Right. And so, but hold on, you've been staying here for the last 15 years. What came up recently that caused you to want to make a change now? There's always frames, right? And so there's a frame for everything. Like if I'm going to frame the needs, I'm going to say, hey, I want to make sure that we can at least help you with the offer. How much do you need in your pocket to be able to do that? Like everything is framed. And so if you frame questions, you're not going to get those responses.
Right. That's going to help the team out a lot because they're just trying to read. I guess we're just not there. We're just trying to read the script. Right. But it's more in the script is, okay, that's the question for the script, but you got to frame those questions as you go through the script to make it more like a regular conversation. Yeah.
How many people are on your team?
I got 5 acquisitions right now.
Yeah. Training them on using the process is a different skill than actually knowing the process yourself.
Well, I mean, we do it all together. Like I'm learning together. I jump on calls too. Like we're all doing it together. Just because I read it don't mean I'm just making them call and I'm not calling. Like I'm doing it. We're all just learning together. Yeah.
No, that's good, man. The thing you just want to be careful of is that they're not adopting it too quickly, because then they're just going to be trying to read the script and they're trying to, like, you know, you flip 180 on them. You just give them the new process. they're going to be spending so much time thinking about what they should say and thinking about where they should go in the process that they're not going to be listening. And that could be a really dangerous thing for a sales team, because your revenue can drop pretty quickly if you're not careful with that.
Yeah.
So just make sure you're giving them one piece at a time.
I mean, we went on cold streaks, and I just think the most important part of what you're teaching is, which what we've been focused on the entire time, is the price and the repairs and having them. And we've been mainly focused on that. We've gone cold like 5 months, no deals, contracts falling apart, too high locked up prices. So that's the main thing I was trying to get over to them is let's shift off of just, not saying y'all got to get the script perfect, but just shift off of price and repairs so much.
Yeah, and just start active listening. I'll shoot you a message because there might be some other things going on if you have 5 deals. So we can talk about it. Maybe offline, so we don't go into it right here.
Yeah.
Hayden, what's up, man?
Yeah, just real quick. So when you're going into like needs and you ask that question, like what do they need to, let's say, move to a different state, and they tell you like a high number, and then you circle back with, let's say I take this to my team and I can get you, X amount of dollars, should I just kick rocks or, not give you a ring back? And they're just like, no, if you can't give me that, like I'm just not interested. Like, how do I circle back from that in a way that's not?
Yeah. I wouldn't say the word kick rocks. We took that out of our process. You would say, let's say that all of the offers came back at XYZ price. Could you still buy X, like whatever they're trying to do? Could you still do X, Y, and Z? And if they say, no, I could not do X, Y, and Z, I would say, all right, and it may not make sense for us to give you an offer. What did you actually need? And then they're like, oh, I actually, see if you can get them lower right there. If they're just stuck on the price, then if you saw the presentation where we're like really far apart on price, it's just how you present the offer. You say, hey, I'm going to give you the offer anyway. Just like I showed earlier in this call, I would just go into that. So you're still going to give them an offer, but your goal is to go through and get them as low as possible in the needs.
Okay. All right,
So
well, thank
could you still do it? Go back to the anchor. Let's say all the offers came back. Could you still do it? What did you really need? Then you can say, okay, like you can go for like a smaller anchor. So they're like, no, I'm not selling anything less than 550. All right. So if people came back at 540, you would tell them to kick rocks. Yes, 550 is my bottom dollar. It's like, okay, you went through the process. It's not going to work every single time. So that happens sometimes.
Fair enough.
Cool. Anybody else? All right. Well, yeah, we finished up early today. If you guys need anything from me, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.